What's up, everybody? Rusty Buckets, the post-game bounce, a victorious post-game bounce as the Memphis Grizzlies won at Boston 127-121. You know, 2024 is coming to a close, and New Year's are all about new things and starting off on a good foot and trying new things out, right? Well, the Memphis Grizzlies did something new for the first time since 2013. I still had a ton of hair in 2013. The Memphis Grizzlies won at Boston with a massive, massive win last night. I cannot emphasize that enough. That's our third game where we had a playoff-like atmosphere, and we finally finished and won the game. It was Golden State, which we made a late, furious rally to try and win that game, came up short, squandered a lead against Dallas last week on their home court, but last night stepped up in a major, major way. And to me, it starts with Brandon Clark. Brandon Clark was vintage BC last night, catching lobs from Ja, playing above the rim, big rebounds and defensive stops. Him and Jaren were a force, especially late in the paint yesterday. Just an incredible effort from a guy who has slowly been getting better and then had his best game when we needed him the most in our biggest moment. It's still a crime that was buried on FanDuel and Bally or wherever you watch it. That should have been an ESPN game because that is two juggernauts of basketball. Two good teams went at it last night in a great basketball game. Memphis led for most of it. A lot of that on the heels of Brandon Clark's 18-8 performance in his 26 minutes last night. Until late in the fourth quarter, Boston took a lead, and you just felt like, man, like we were so close to beating them. And TJ called a timeout after a big Pritchard three, who started like 5 for 5 from beyond the arc, finished 6 for 11. Felt like him and Drew Holiday were going to shoot us into oblivion. But Boston finished 13 for 60 from beyond the arc. They took 63s last night, clanked a lot of them. Kristaps Porzingis was shooting from the time stripe and hitting nothing but the backboard. Like, it was an ugly shooting performance from Boston, but they got it together late. And that's when we needed our big three to step up, and step up they did. Ja Morant, well, I mean, what do you say? You got to start there. 34 minutes for Ja Morant. Shout out Taylor Jenkins. Ja played 34, Jaren played 34, and Des played 32. More on TJ in a minute. But Ja was back to his usual acrobatic tomfoolery above the rim. On that baseline drive around Porzingis, where he goes up for a layup, double clutches and hits the reverse J Huff dunk, it set the NBA world on fire. I got notifications from the ESPN app, the fantasy app, from Real. Like, everybody was blowing up about that dunk from a guy who said he wasn't going to dunk anymore. And he told Rob Fisher after the game he thought Porzingis would have blocked a reverse layup. So you just, you're welcome, basically what he said. But one of the most athletic dunks I think I've ever seen. And that dude is so athletic, 4 feet in the air. It's just ridiculous to watch what he can do when he jumps that high and still can double clutch and hit dunks like that. But he was big from beyond the arc. He started 3 for 3, finished 4 for 6 for the night, en route to a 32-point Ja Morant game. And, we haven't had that yet. He's been having 20-plus and getting a ton of assists. And he finished with 32, 9, and 9 last night. But we needed buckets from Ja, and he was getting to the rim, getting his layups. His shot was falling. It was fun to watch Ja Morant last night. Jaren Jackson Jr. also played 34 minutes, had a good 3 quarters of basketball, but scored 14 of his 27 points in the final frame when we needed him the most. Boston was mounting a furious rally in that fourth quarter. Pritchard's shot was falling. Drew Holiday was getting to the rim. They were getting away with a lot of fouls. The whistle was really tight once again on Boston's end. But down there on our end, we were getting freaking mugged, and they wouldn't call anything. Porzingis basically pulls Jaren down on a layup attempt it turns into a turnover. They're mauling Ja in the lane. BC's getting mugged. They didn't call anything. But our guys stepped up, especially Tripp in that fourth quarter. Again, 14 points in the final frame, and we needed every one of them to pull out that win, as Boston did take a lead late with about 5.5 minutes or so to go. But just a massive Jaren game last night. Again, if he was getting 34 minutes a night, we would legitimately be having MVP conversations. As is, we're still talking first-team all-defense, possibly first-team all-NBA. It didn't matter who Boston threw at him last night. He was getting buckets, big threes, big dunks. That hook was feeding families last night. That little turnaround, little floater is unbelievable, man. And he's struggled shooting from three recently, but finishing 3 for 4 last night was huge for Jaren. Lastly, on our big three, Desmond Bane, had the best plus minus last night. It was plus 17 last night. That's winning basketball. Yeah, his shot wasn't falling early, and he was missing some layups at the rim, but he hit a big three and a couple big layups late in that fourth quarter in the closing minutes when we desperately needed it. Boston had mounted a furious comeback and had taken a 1-point lead, and we call a timeout, and we come out of it a couple possessions after, and Desmond buries a three to give us a 6-point lead, which ultimately ended up being the difference in the game. Listen, y'all can talk about, oh, he's not worth $200 million. We need to trade Desmond Bane all you want, but that guy matters to this team. He has stepped up defensively this year. He's still the number one guard defending 2-point shots in the NBA, giving up only 36%. Like, his defense has been massive. He was plus 17 last night when he was on the floor. Yeah, he shot 41% from the field. It wasn't a great night, but the guy played winning basketball. I'll keep Desmond Bane all day, every day. Go double deuce, man. I love watching him hoop, and he was big when we needed him last night. Yeah, props to Taylor Jenkins, man. Last night was a playoff atmosphere, like I said earlier, and normally he cowers in those moments, or he cracks in those moments with analytics and all that. Last night, he felt the game needed those three players playing, and he played them. 34-34 for Jaren and 32 for Desmond. We got 26 out of Brandon Clark, 23 from Jake LaRavia, which we'll get to him here in a minute. But Taylor stepped up and coached his tail off in a playoff game. So my hat's off to you, sir. Well done. He rode the Jake LaRavia hand. Marcus Smart didn't have it last night. He was 1 for 11 from the field. Jalen Wells looked like a rookie last night, and he's going to in these big games as he's still growing and going through growing pains. Finished with 7 points in 18 minutes and a net -5. Marcus was a -10. Jake LaRavia played good basketball last night. Again, Dez was our best at plus 17. Jake was plus 12. He only finished with 5 points and 4 rebounds, but he was in a lot of passing lanes. He had 2 big steals, one late where he dove on the floor scrapping for the basketball. Listen, like, again, there's not a place for Jake in the top 10 minute getters on this team when fully healthy, but we need him right now, and he's playing really well. He's doing more for his trade highlight tape than Marcus is, I'll tell you that. But Jake played big defensive minutes for us last night when we desperately needed him. So shout out to Jake for stepping up. Shout out to Taylor Jenkins, 2 guys I am very critical of. They stepped up in a big game last night and helped us to win. And it was cool to see Marcus get the love when he came back to Boston for his first game as a visitor. But you could tell the moment, the adrenaline was too much for him. Again, 1 for 11, shooting threes early in the shot clock. Like, that's the Marcus Smart experience, right? Highs and lows, ups and downs, very much a roller coaster. But our big three overcame that and won that game for us last night. So once again, huge win for the Grizzlies, 127-121. But you can't let that game beat you tonight. That's a massive win. It's a great way to build some momentum. And that can be continued tonight. We play the Wizards at 6 p.m. at Washington. They just snapped a 16-game losing streak, weathering a 56-point performance from Nikola Jokic. They're coming in hungry. They won. We're coming in celebrating a victory. And so it's like Josh said last night, let's celebrate this in the locker room now. Put your focus on the Wizards. Like, there's no sense to let this game beat you tonight. Go get a professional win. Handle your business against a bad team. Finish the weekend 2-0. Let's get some real momentum going. Congratulations, Grizzlies. Massive win. Great job, Coach Jenkins. Core 3. Let's go get a dub tonight. Go Grizz.